Welcome back, everybody. Brendan Shanahan, president of the Toronto Maple Leafs, signing a large extension today to stay on in one of the craziest hockey markets in North America. Welcome back to the show, Brendan. We appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
Why do you like doing this in this market? This is a unique one.
Well, I grew up here. I've always enjoyed. I don't know, for whatever reason, even when I retired. And I was doing discipline for the league, I'm attracted to difficult but fun and challenging jobs. I think that I feel very lucky. When the Leafs approached me, like probably a little over a year ago, and started talking about, my contract was expiring this July, I just said, like, that I probably shouldn't say this to you if I'm going to be doing this, but I'm not leaving, and so this is going to be very easy.
That's not normally how that goes.
Yeah, it's probably maybe I should have got an agent, but I didn't. I didn't want to do that, and it wasn't necessary. I'm passionate about the job. I've really enjoyed it. 5 years has flown by, and it was just a matter as saying to them when the season ended, we'll formalize it. But generally speaking, over the course of the last few months, we just had a handshake agreement, and when we had a little bit of a quiet time here and the Raptors weren't really doing something great, we thought we'd slide it in. And in between my Game of Thrones and my Raptors, the things that I do in the offseason. Right.
We'll talk about the White Horse at the end of the episode afterwards.
Yeah.
Let's keep that between us.
Arya and Gendry, just want to say, called it season 2 or 3.
Oh, Doctor, season. All right, that's where I'm at, so I can't speak to anything.
We don't have the hour needed for this conversation. I didn't realize Brendan was all Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tim.
I just saw Joffrey get killed, so I'm like way behind.
He's way
so bad. So sorry. I so apologize.
No problem. It's fine. I'm years behind. So when you're brought in, obviously, the idea, everyone pretty much knew, bring stability to the franchise. That was your first 5 years. I think a lot of people would agree that you have accomplished that. So now, like, what are you looking at in this 6-year extension? Like, I need to get this done.
Well, I think obviously we want to win, and we haven't. We've had success. We've improved. We've grown. I think that we've been very lucky with the players we've acquired. I've personally been very lucky about the people that have come on to help me with the job. I mean, that was probably my first few months. What I had realized more than anything is I need help, and so I've been very fortunate with the different people that have come along at different times and been a big part of building this. But obviously, we know from experience, it's very difficult to win in the NHL. And so, to me, it's just about continuing to push forward and as a group, try and get over that hump and win. And ultimately, you can say, like, you want to win and you want to advance, you want to do better than you did the year before, but really we're all going to get measured here and judged whether or not we have the ability to win a championship. So that is obviously the ultimate goal for every guy that has my job, that is working for an NHL team. That's all of our goals. So that's our goal as well.
We really appreciate you coming in. Time right now, unfortunately, is not our friend. So do you mind if we just jump into a few things here with you while we have you here? Let's go.
Sure.
Mitch Marner and his representatives, did you guys meet with him today?
We did meet today, and it was a positive meeting, and that's about it. I had said to Darren, I said, you know what, Darren, I'm going to have some news later on today, and I don't want to have to lie to people. I'm sure I'm going to get asked about Mitch. Can I at least say that we met today? And he said yes. So, but beyond that, that's all I'm saying.
Can you win in the NHL right now with having 3 guys make as much as people think that this is going to take to get done?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I think we get too caught up all the time. Every time that somebody wins, you say, well, there's the blueprint. That's the only way to do it. A couple of years ago, Pittsburgh did it, and Letang was hurt. It's like, you don't need defense. You don't need a number 1 guy. Right. And let's all copy them. And then, Washington wins. We all got to be big, heavy, strong. Heavy again, and we're a copycat league. Like I said, I feel very fortunate with the players we have and the style that we're playing. It's not for everybody. There are lots of general managers, quasi-general managers throughout the city that would build the team differently. This is how we're building it. We're going to continue to build it. I believe in toughness. I believe in grit. I believe that those things can be developed. You can't get everything you want all in day one, but I think one of the hardest things to acquire are some of the things that we've been very lucky to get, and that's really good, really talented hockey players that love being Maple Leafs.
Right.
Go ahead, Tim.
I was just going to say, we heard Kyle Dubas say that everyone was under evaluation at the end of the year. Were you in on the evaluation of your head coach?
So here's how it works. So like when you're playing that Game 7, because you've just got things to do, you're booking hotel rooms for the next round, and you're building a schedule for when you're going to practice, because you have to assume and plan for advancement. And then when you're not, and this will happen in any round to any team, it's a thud. And I would just say this, probably at the end of every season, whether we're very, very upset or we're very, very happy, we are not going to be in a position to talk about all of the individuals and assess what went right, what went wrong. We're a process-driven organization. I'm that way, Kyle's that way. And I think all he was trying to say that day was we have to take a step back and look at everybody. And I understand why there was a lot of attention. I think I liked and appreciated that Kyle went and met with Mike. I think it's, like I said, we could have won the Stanley Cup. They probably would have done the exact same thing. But obviously, Kyle and Mike met, they talked, and Kyle came out and said what he said recently in support of Mike as his head coach. And that's, for me, I'm there to support them and what they need, but really, it's really about those two having that meeting and really getting their heads together and coming up with a plan.
So Kyle heard what he needed to hear from Mike. So there are no questions between the three of you on what the plan is going into next year, and whatever issues had to be raised were. You are completely satisfied with that interaction and how that played out going into next year.
Yeah, look, I wasn't in the meeting. I think that's between them. But I spoke to Kyle and spoke to Mike afterwards and heard how it went. And they both feel very confident about the meeting. They thought it was really productive. And you're always making a plan how we're going to be better next year. So I think probably the answer for me, if I were in Kyle's shoes next year, and probably what you'll hear from Kyle, like Austin Matthews had a great answer once when somebody had asked him about his contract prior to him signing, and they said, well, he said, I'll leave that up to my agent. And they said, well, what do you and your agent talk about? And he said, very politely, I thought it was a great answer. He said, well, that's private. And I think that with experience is something that I would say to Kyle. He's so honest. He wants to give answers. There are certain times where I remember saying to Kenny Holland once, I know you don't have time, but I said, there's all these trade rumors about me. Why won't you come out and say they're not true? And he says, well, because then they're going to ask me about another guy. And they might be true, and I can't answer that. So I think when it comes to our management, our staff, there's probably a certain amount of privacy that's needed. But I think that there will be evaluations on all of us at the end of every year. And the evaluation is not just on what the job that you just did, but how are you going to get better? Because you constantly have to be trying to get better.
So let's talk about that better, because on this show I had no answer to, of course, another first-round loss is tough, but is it mitigated by the fact that you lost to a team that now has a 2-0 lead in the Eastern Conference Final, and many people think is the favorite to win the Stanley Cup? You keep meeting that same team. Is it frustrating to have that matchup and then watch them do what they're doing now?
Well, first I can promise you that all the same emotions when you lose that the fans feel, we feel the same thing. Like frustration, these guys again, all this stuff. And so I get that. I understand that. And yeah, look, I think they had the second most points in the NHL. So we lost to a team that was a good team. It doesn't make it any easier on us, and as a matter of fact, it doesn't make me feel like them winning gives us cover or gives us any sort of breathing room. I think them winning is good for us in the sense that it's more painful. It's more painful because this is a team that we came home for Game 6 with a chance to bury, and we didn't. And that's the kind of experience and that's the kind of pain and hurt that I hope can translate to make us a better team and a more resilient team and a grittier team. Sometimes you need that scar tissue, and sometimes you need those disappointing moments to come back stronger. And so every time the Boston Bruins win a game, I imagine that it stings everyone as much as it stings us. And I think that's a good thing. I don't like seeing anybody win the Stanley Cup. Unfortunately, they give it out every year. Right. But I actually like that it feels more personal, and I think that that's a good thing.
It's always a good thing for us. Hopefully you enjoy it too, Brendan. We like when you come by. Congratulations.
Great coaches.
All right, we can send a couple down.
Maybe we'll watch an episode of Game of Thrones on these guys.
That you watch Game of Thrones at home, like sound down, don't bother me, or you?
Sound down. What do you mean? Sound
Well, just no noise, like in your own space, like when
yeah.
you watched you.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk
Absolutely.
about our theories about what we think is going to happen Sunday. Brendan Shanahan, and oh yeah, he signed a huge deal today with MLS.